Is globalization economically good or bad for countries? One of the most astonishing statistics is that between 1981 and 2005, more than 450 million Chinese people stepped out of extreme poverty. That is, earning less than $1 per day in purchasing power. What adds to the astonishment is that China received very little international aid, meaning that most of the increase in income from hundreds of millions of Chinese people came directly from globalization. That said, statistics show us that the effects have not been equal across all countries. If you look in Latin America, in some cases, countries did worse after globalization or liberalization of their economies, while other countries, like El Salvador or Chile, did better. Mexico, Colombia, and Peru did worse. Further, there's at least some evidence to indicate that liberalization of economies has resulted in increases in the Gini index, or the increases in inequality of countries. Research with Mexico and China both showed that liberalization of their economies resulted in greater differences between the haves and the have-nots in their countries. Most students are surprised to discover that there's quite a bit of inequality within the United States, especially given that one of our ultimate sacred postulates of America is a belief that everyone is created equal. It is common for American citizens, regardless of geography, to greatly value and esteem the idea or notion of equality and the belief that it is inherent in individual rights. The present-day interconnectedness of the world has generated a global culture of industrialization and overconsumption. The modern world system is the product of European imperialism and colonialism, where, if you'll recall, imperialism was the policy of extending rule of a nation or an empire over the foreign nations and taking and holding foreign colonies, where colonialism was the political, social, economic, cultural domination of a territory and its people by foreign powers for extended periods of time. The spread of industrialization and overconsumption has taken place from the core countries or the core areas to peripheral areas, as you can see in the map here, starting in those places that got industrialization first and started to overconsume their own resources and then the resources of other cultures and countries next. An interesting case study in Brazil showed us that globalization and liberalization of the economy isn't always beneficial to individuals. In the 1950s, the Brazilian government attempted to introduce sisal, or hemp, agave, like thick fibers used to make rope. They tried to introduce this as a cash crop into the subsistence ecology. And as the country became more economically, culturally, and materially developed, this increased individuals' dependence on the world economy, and it ruined the local subsistence ecology and worsened health and income distribution for individuals, especially in part because they had to clear rainforest to plant the sisal or hemp. This case study looks at one farmer, he and his wife's children, showing for you their percentage of standard body weight as a result of their family reducing their reliance on subsistence crops in their fields and instead taking those out and planting their field full of sisal or hemp that they could then sell to the global market. But when the global market for hemp dropped out, individuals and their families starved. You can see here the cumulative effect for their 8-year-old son was the most severe, where he was 62% the standard body weight. Because when they couldn't sell their hemp for the right price, they didn't have any other foods in their gardens that they could use or harvest to feed the family, which had been their traditional form of subsisting. We'll come back in a moment and talk about the anthropology of garbage, industrialization, and degradation. Have a great day.